Good evening. Welcome to round 10 and the season 5 finale in the Formula PlayStation League, which today brings us to Hanoi, the capital city of Vietnam, and the 25th biggest city in Asia by population. The Drivers' Championship may be over, but the Constructors' race is still very much alive, with Red Bull needing just a podium finish from either Nuth or Buttons back to take the season 5 crown from Mercedes. They lead that title, or that championship, by 31 points from the Silver Arrows. And it means that our newly crowned Drivers' Champion, Vapor Nuth, or his teammate Buttons back, have not the easiest task, but certainly a very doable task of claiming a podium finish and thus claiming that championship for the team. So, despite the lack of Drivers' Championship fight going into the last race of the season, we still very much have a battle on our hands. And hopefully some drama in what is the last race of the season. Vietnam, of course, was supposed to be round number 5 of the season, but it was called off due to the co-master servers sadly not working for us, which meant that had to be postponed, and what was meant to be the final race in Brazil last time ended up being the penultimate round of the season. But here we are in Vietnam, finally watching the season finale. Not at the track expecting to, but good to see racing here in Hanoi. But of course of Vietnam, it's a 5.6 kilometer circuit. Here it's a good mix, really, of straight line speed in the opening couple of sectors, and then a lot of downforce. Particularly to here around these final few corners, as we're about to see Cobalt go through in the Renault. And Cobalt so far particularly impressive in season 5. 3 races and 3 points finishes so far, and certainly in the conversation in those Grand Prix as well for a podium finish. Can he get one here this evening to round out season 5 and set himself up nicely for season 6? In towards turn 1 he goes then. A really tricky braking zone to get right through 2 and 3, reminiscent of the first 3 corners of the Nürburgring. That's what it was designed off, but of course it's just a mirror of those corners. Opens up the DRS. He goes now towards turn 6. Okay, and around the long left-hander, has to catch the rear a little bit. That forces him to have to steer the car again. Has to have a couple of goes at getting it all in. Some strange corners, I guess you could say. Of course, this is a street circuit, but not entirely a street track by definition. Not entirely street track. It's quite a slightly wide, goes up, manages to scoop the car up. Parts of it run on usually traffic-filled roads. Of course, the roads closed for the Grand Prix weekend, and that works the same really as Canada and Le Mans. And one was used in 1967, but it was the 4.1 kilometer Bugatti circuit as opposed to the full 8.4 circuit. It's very wide, goes Cobalt, and that's going to compromise his lap. He'll still cross the line and set a 1:35.3 to open the account. Round comes Vapor. Corner in the Williams, and it is 1:34.7, 6/10 clear of Cobalt in Renault. There's Vapor Nuth, in season 5, as TDB goes second, 1:34.8 in the Mercedes. So wait for Vapor Trench. There he is to round the final turn in his car. And it will take some doing, really, for Mercedes to take the Constructors' crown here today. They will need a bit of fortune from Red Bull, but 34.3 is the fastest lap of the session so far. from the Mercedes of TDB. As in towards now comes Booth on the medium compound of tyre. This track is, of course, different to last time in Brazil, where it's a much longer circuit. Just how bad the tyre wear is going to be is, well, that's a question that really answered right until F1 goes here next year. But around the final corner goes Nuth, and it is P6, 135.9 for the new champion in the Alfa Romeo, and he brings that car back into the pits as well. Which means 8 lap times on the board. Buttons back is out on, well, he's on an out lap at the moment. Bazooka Joe is on a flyer in the Ferrari. There he is, as he just goes through the first few corners. A little bit of a lag going on the car, but looks to have settled down a little. That's down the first, or the second DRS straight, I should say, down towards turn 6. So he gets slowed down for 7, and then through the long left-hander of 8. And this straight here, the longest of the circuit. A very long stretch indeed. And then also one of the trickiest braking zones at the end of it. As he gets the car stopped, DRS closes. And that's a pretty good run there from Bazooka Joe in the Ferrari, who is not joined in the red car by his teammate Reese this evening. It was the same as well in Brazil. But Bazooka Joe actually never out-qualified Reese in the championship, but outraced him 6 times. Certainly things tend to go his way over the course of the Grand Prix. And got his first podium, of course, in Brazil last time. Allsoppy's been disqualified from the session in the Alpha Tauri. And Bazooka Joe goes 4th, 135.1. That's a strong effort from him. That's a good lap. And now, here's Buttons back in the Red Bull, just coming up towards the final sector now. And in now towards these very tricky high-speed corners. Jinking left and right. And looks as though it actually has he backed out of the lap? I think he has. Yeah, certainly not going full pelt at the minute in the Red Bull. And I think he's backed out of this one and is going to try and go again on another run. Of course, one thing we mentioned quite a lot in league racing is if you up a lap on a set of tyres, that's essentially that set of tyres most likely so badly worn that you really have to just change onto a new set, which is why you see so many drivers coming into the pits straight after they've had a lap invalidated or after they've had to back out of a lap. And Vapor Nuth has left the session, as has Vapor King. Those two both leaving the session. Nuth, where's he? Nuth P8, Vapor King P11 without having set a lap yet. So exactly what's going on there, I'm not too sure. Vapor King's joined again, and yeah, we'll see. Nuth's joined as well now, so I'm not too sure what was going on there. And so, was that a McLaren in the wall? It was. Trixky has just had to rejoin, and that is him with that minus the front wing. He was either getting out of the way, or yeah, he was planted in the wall somewhere. Either way, he is well, that's TDB now going off the track in the Mercedes. I'm not too sure why. I don't know what's going on, to be honest, at the moment. TDB, really not sure what happened there to the Mercedes driver. I would love to tell you what was going on, but he has now started a lap and he's off on another qualifying run. I would love to be able to say what exactly that was from the Mercedes, but doesn't look as though he's going particularly full pelt on this run either in the Mercedes. Buttons back's got P7, by the way, 135.3 from him. Vapor Nuth will definitely need to improve on that 1:35.9, which currently sees him in 11th place. Kasu as well, yet to set a lap, currently in the pits. Sam has gone out once again, P3 for him, just behind his teammate Vapor in what has been a very, very good battle indeed between those two so far. In terms of qualifying in the race, it's generally been pretty close between them in qualifying, although Vapor has managed to get the better of Sam 6 times in the 8 races they've had together. And 7 times in the race, actually. But, of course, watching the races, those numbers tell a bit of a lie. They don't tell the entire story. Those two generally always pretty close on track, always pretty evenly matched in qualifying as well. Sam comes into the pits. Jack Prentice as well in the Racing Point, P7 at the moment. Also claimed a spectacular in the last race in Brazil. His first podium in FPSL. And it was a fantastic performance, actually, from Jack. Certainly a well-earned podium, and it was a dramatic race as well. There's Cobalt, P4, I should say, in the Renault. Had set the opening lap of the session and slightly cuts across the hairpin, I dare to say. And in towards this final sector, and well, looks as though he's backed out of this lap. He hasn't indeed. I think he's just set one the lap before in the Renault. Vapor Nuth has gone back out again. There he is, just started another lap, and he's gone out on the soft tyres as well, so clearly, oh, he's gone wide, and yeah, clearly didn't feel as though the mediums he was on were serving him much purpose, although having just gone wide, he hasn't had his lap invalidated, so he's just going to carry on his lap, although he has now backed off, so he's done the right thing there. Vapor Nuth didn't have the lap invalidated, but he has done the right thing and backed off. There's Vapor King in the Alfa Romeo, and the last couple of rounds have been a little bit topsy-turvy for him. It was a spectacular victory in Spa a couple of rounds ago before what ended up being a calamity, really, in Brazil. Spun the car whilst he was about to lead the drivers away on the safety car restart. And unfortunately for him, his race just never really recovered from there. He was last of the runners, but still managed to score a couple of points because the DNFs mounted up to the extent that 9 the race, or 10 drivers I should say, finished the race, and King was P10. As he brings that car now in towards the final sector of the circuit. This is where the grip depleted, going to bring it through this very technical part of the circuit. As wide goes Vapor Nuth to let the Alfa Romeo go. This is a very sturdy run, this, from the Alfa Romeo. Looking very good here from King as he gets the car stopped for the penultimate corner at turn 22. Round 23 he goes. Line, there it is, and across the line now for King to go P3, 134.2. As TDB has gone quickest on a 133.7. Displaces Vapor, who is also now on a 133. Just a little bit slower than his teammate TDB. It was a fantastic battle right at the end of qualifying in Brazil between these two for pole position. And it was a very good battle as well in the opening laps of the race. Before incidents, really, for TDB, for Trench, I should say. TDB managing to recover pretty well, actually, up through the field after some strategy drama. Thanks very much for joining us here in Vietnam. My name is Rob Kershaw, by the way. I'm taking you through the action here at the Aramco Vietnamese Grand Prix. Lovely to have your company with me this evening. And do let me know in the comments who your pick is to win. And also, can Red Bull have on to that 31-point lead? Take the Constructors' title here in round 10 of the season. As Buttons back brings that car through the chicane. It's only P9 for him. I should mention as well, Red Bull needing a podium finish at the moment to win the Constructors, but at the minute it's Buttons back 9th and Vapor Nuth in 12th. He's still trying to set a lap on the soft tyres, but as you can see on the right hand, the bottom right of the screen, he's had this lap invalidated, And he'll have to come into the pits, I imagine, because he's probably run out of fuel at this stage. He does indeed pit. So this plays into the hands pretty nicely of Mercedes. And if it were to end like this in qualifying and end like this in the Grand Prix, Mercedes would take the Constructors' title. So it just goes to show the flip side of all of that. Red Bull needs a good race still. They can't afford to rest on their laurels this evening. And that will become very clear if they don't manage to qualify well. And suddenly, you might just see a few alarm bells for the Woking base team. There's Cobalt through the first sector. Just goes ever so slightly deep into the chicane. And that's going to compromise him just a little bit. But we'll see if he can make the time up over the course of the rest of the lap. Of course, it's the final sector, really, where you'll make up the most time in the very technical part of the circuit. There's not much you can do down the straights when you're on track. Of course, there is something you can do setup-wise. As he gets the car stopped to make sure to try and spot that braking point. It's a very good run through turn 11 for Cobalt. As in towards 12 he goes. It's a purple middle sector from the Renault. What a magnificent pole position this would be for him with just under 2 minutes to go. TDB's on an outlap. Vapor Trench in the pits. King and Vapor Shea have both gone out. Sam's out there as well. So certainly a lot of drivers who you would feel will be in contention for pole position out on track at the moment in the dying moments of qualifying. It's Cobalt round the final corner in the Renault. And this is going to be enough here for P1's been a good lap so far. No, it is still P4 at a 134.3, which is, as you can see, pretty close to Vapor King in front. But the two Mercedes cars, as in real life really, tend to be quite a long way out there. Vapor Nuth is on and up again in the Red Bull, still down in P12. Buttons back up to P7 with a 135.0, but now up to P5, 134.6 for him. And Bazooka Joe has retired from the session in the Ferrari. So either feels as though his lap is good enough or has crashed out somewhere on the track. And I can't see a red dot stopped out there, so he must have just retired in the lane. As here comes Williams of Shea. 40 seconds to go in the session here in Hanoi. Can hang on the position. He's on that now at the moment in the Mercedes. Or will Trench claim pole for the second race running? And his second pole in Season 5 of the FPSL. And it would be, I should mention, for TDB, if he can hang on here. As round the final sector comes Vapor Shea. This is where it either all comes together or all falls apart. As round turn 22 he goes in towards 23. As Trent starts a lap, Shea finishes a lap and goes P3, 134.1 from the Williams, just behind the two Mercedes cars, but at the moment not enough. And TDB's had his lap invalidated, so he's not going to be in the running, but neither is Trench, because Trench has had his lap invalidated too. So neither is he going to be able to displace TDB at the top of the timing screens, which means the Vapor King and the Alfa Romeo is the only man who can stop a Mercedes driver from being on pole. As round turn 80 goes, and down this very, very long straight, as he looks to pick up the DRS. And the line is at a pretty precarious part of the straight, has to be said. There it is as he flips open the rear wing. As down towards turn 7. How dare he brake into this corner? There's a slow-moving McLaren, which is that Trixie. It might be Trixie in a car. In fact, it has to be Trixie because Katu's out of the session. As into the final sector. Very, very tight wall. Just shows how hard he's pushing, how much he wants opposition. And now King in towards these final few corners. Not had a pole yet in the Formula PlayStation League as Sam crosses the line, can't improve on 5th. Is King about to have one now in the Alfa Romeo? No, he's not. P3, 133.8. It does mean surely now that it is a 1-2 for Mercedes, a front row lockout, and Vapor Nuth has come back into the pits. He can't improve on P12. which means that Buttons back for just the 4th time this season is going to out-qualify Nuth and start this race from P7. But it's not where Red Bull expected to be, and it's not really where they need to be comfortable of the Constructors' title success. And maybe, just maybe here, Mercedes can grab the Constructors' title. They're 1-2 on the grid. And Red Bull 7th with Buttons back, and 12th with Vapor Nuth. And this here could be a dramatic end to the season as Mercedes look to take Red Bull's lead and take the crown in Season 5. Then there's your qualifying order. TDB starting on pole for the Vietnam Grand Prix. Vampire Trench P2, Mercedes front row lockout. King in P3, Shea P4, Sam in 5th, Cobalt in P6, Buttons back in 7th, Bazooka Joe 8th, Jack Prentice in 9th. Trixky rounds out the top 10 in the McLaren. Brown in 11th, Vapor Nuth in 12th, and last of the drivers who managed to set laps. Fashion didn't manage to get out there and set a lap. Casio in the McLaren didn't set a time, and Allsoppy was disqualified from the session early on in the AlphaTauri. And that does set us up very, very well indeed for the Grand Prix. Mercedes probably came into this and probably went into Brazil as well thinking that maybe there wasn't going to be that much of a chance of taking Red Bull's seemingly inevitable glory this season. But here they are, having locked out the front row and seen Red Bull qualify 7th and 12th on the grid. Nuth, the new champion for the 2nd race running, failing to qualify inside the top 10. Set an early lap on the medium tyres, which of course wasn't too quick because of the mediums, and then on the softs just wasn't able to get a lap together. And is that going to be Red Bull's downfall in Season 5? It would be a pretty disappointing end to what has been a near perfect season for Vapor Nuth. The numbers just impress every time. 6 wins, 8 podiums from the first 9 races, 5 pole positions as well. And he's finishing the points in every single Grand Prix so far. And remember, a podium will guarantee Red Bull championship success here in Hanoi. And if we have a race half as crazy as what we did in Brazil, then you never know. That just might happen for either 7th or 12th as they get on the way on the formation lap. TDB leading us off. Run to turn 1, but so too is the case in Brazil, and we saw that TDB managed to get the jump on Trench and go down the inside there to claim the advantage. Brown, Nuth, the 3 drivers to elect to go for the medium compound tyres. Worth mentioning once again for any of you who are perhaps slightly new to the Formula 1 rules. And if you qualify outside the top 10, even in a short qualifying session, then you do have a free choice of tyre. From a short qualifying, if you qualify on the softs, as TDB has done, then you start the race on that exact set of rubber. So the yellow wool and the red wool available to the tyres, available to the drivers, I should say, tyre-wise, in every Grand Prix since the colour code, I suppose, changed last season. Mies says hi. Hi, Mies. Good to see you again. I would love to say I get tired of seeing Mies in the chat. I really don't. I actually really do enjoy it. So keep typing away. in the comments. And of course, let me know who you think's going to win and who's going to have that constructor's crown by the end of this evening's racing. It's the last race of Season 5 at a track where we were supposed to go a few rounds ago before the Codemasters servers prevented that from happening. The circuit is located next to the Maydeen National Stadium. 1.5 kilometres is the longest straight on the calendar, which is between turns 9 and turn 11. And it was, of course, Herman Tilke who designed this circuit. Does that come as a surprise? Not really. Designs a lot of them these days. But will this one provide the same cracker that we've seen the last couple of rounds? Well, that remains to be seen, because whilst the Drivers' Championship is already won, the Constructors' Battle, particularly after qualifying, has just gotten that bit more exciting. It is TDB on pole, Trench on the front row. The Vietnamese Grand Prix, round number 10 of Season 5 is underway. And how's the start from the... Oh, it's a brilliant start from third from Vapor King, but he can't really do much more, can he? Yes, he can. He can dive down the inside and break the lead from the Mercedes of TDB, but he defends the inside, and now Trench is back down the inside of him, and after an excellent getaway off the line from the Alfa Romeo, he's lost out to both the Mercedes. There's nearly contact. There is contact now, and King very nearly spears into the wall. Did so well to hang on to the car. Through turn 4, as now Shea has a look down the inside. Cobalt tries to go down the inside of Shea, and there's contact, and Cobalt's round. Cobalt in the Renault and spun out. Oh, it's an awful move, really. He went for the late, but it's gone horribly wrong for him. And he's spun himself possibly out of contention for a podium early doors. Allsoppy has also spun in the Alpha Tauri, but Mercedes, after a dramatic start, have managed to hold their lead. And meanwhile, what has happened to Vapor King? We saw him nearly go into the wall a little bit earlier on. And I'm not really sure where he is, but it's Mercedes leading. TDB first, Vapor Trench in second. And what a brilliant start this is for them, particularly considering that is now down in 12th, and Vapor Nuth is 14th. It's been a horrible, horrible start for the two Red Bulls. There's Vapor King. Oh, and into the wall behind him, I think, goes Buttons back. And yeah, he has. He's got front wing damage. It is the worst possible start to this race for Red Bull, because Nuth has damage as well. This is a tremendous start for Mercedes. This is everything they possibly could have wished for off the start of this Grand Prix. It's a catastrophe for Red Bull, who at this rate probably look set to lose the Constructors' title. And oh, what's happened to TDB? TDB, I think, is disconnected because his car's ghosting. Now he's down to P4. And I've given the Mercedes the commentator's curse, although that might just be the timing screens, because, yeah, the timing screens are all over the place. TDB does still lead the Grand Prix. Yeah, timing screens are all over the place. TDB does still lead. Codemasters, thank you once again. And TDB still has to lead, so Mercedes still have a 1-2, and it is still the perfect start. Vapor Shea, third in the Williams, has got to 5th now in the Racing Point, just in front of Sue in the McLaren. And what a brilliant qualifying that to be from. Exceptional stuff. Qualified by teammate Tricky for the 5th time. Able to get himself up into, well, 6th place, possibly 5th place, as he gets very close to Jack Prentice, but Jack manages to stay in front of him for now. JP with his first podium last time in Brazil. Can he emulate that success here in Vietnam? Well, that remains to be seen. Buttons 13th, Nuth 14th. I'll keep an eye on that Constructors' Battle for you as this progresses, because this all of a sudden has been blown wide open. And it's anyone's game from here, although at the moment, as it stands, Mercedes are going to take the Constructors' crown here in Vietnam. What a plot twist that will be at the end of the season, as Casu just gets a little bit closer to Jack Prentice. Meanwhile, behind them, Fashion, as a result of Vapor King's dramas, ended up ahead of his teammate. There he is just in front of Brown, who's rounding out the top 10 in the Haas. And you can just see how much quicker Brown is. I just wonder if there's any issues for the Alfa Romeo, because Brown is very, very close indeed. Now he's got DRS in the slipstream, and he's going to try and go down the inside here. Can he brake late enough? Has he got the run? No, he hasn't. Thinks better of it. It's a very, very tight line through the chicane. But he'll have his best shot as he tries so hard to just swoop up and try and keep them facing in the right direction through turn 8. Just in front of them, Bazooka Joe is being chased down by Trixie. Here comes Brown with DRS. Now he's got the slipstream, he's got the rear wing open. Easy for me to say. And, well, Fashion isn't going to try and go defensive. Brown is going to try and go down the inside and has the move done into turn 11 as Fashion just scoops up the rear on the exit. And that now is P9 for Brown. Fashion forced into the outer extremities of the points. And still Mercedes have that 1-2, with Vapour actually being caught quite considerably now by his teammate Sam. Less than a second separating the two Williams cars. Vapour just about got himself within DRS range of Trench in front when they crossed the detection zone. Meanwhile, into the pits has come Fashion, so I think he did have an issue somewhere, because he was really struggling for pace. And meanwhile, side by side, Jack Prentice has been passed by the McLaren of Kasu. That one was coming. Kasu was threatening that, and he manages to get it into P5 in the Aramco Vietnamese Grand Prix. JP has DRS to try and come back at him. Is he going to be close enough here? Well, he's getting very close indeed, but does he go for it? Thinks better of it, and has to stick in behind for the time being. There's Bazooka Joe, P7 for the Ferrari. Fashion's pit stop has now put it behind Button's back, although Button's back is down in P14. Back. He's just been passed, I believe, by Cobalt in the Renault. Oh, but Cobalt gets the line very, very wrong, and Button's back flies past him down the RS straight. There's P13, there's one back for Red Bull, but at the minute, as you can see on the leaderboard, still not enough. Only a podium would guarantee Red Bull the constructors here. And if Mercedes get the 1-2 and the fastest lap, which they have got at the moment, then that glory is going to them. Here's Vapour Trench. Now, of course, this is a bit of a dilemma, really, for Mercedes. Do they battle for the win, or do they just kind of stick in formation and bring this 1-2 home? Will personal pride and desire for success be more valuable to them than the Constructors' title? I think if I were Toto Wolff right now, I'd know exactly what I'd want from the drivers, but it's not about me, it's about these two. And at the moment, they're staying in formation. Vapour Trench sticking within DRS range of his teammate. Vapour has now fallen a couple of seconds behind Trench, and that's left him slightly vulnerable to his teammate Sam, who is just about a second behind him at the moment. Trixie is... yeah, he's now just behind Bazooka Joe. So P8 for the McLaren of Trixie. Brown is now 3.5 seconds behind this battle, having just gotten past the Alfa Romeo of Fashion. Of course, Fashion has since come into the pit lane. And TDB has been passed, so Trench has the lead. Right, that's interesting. So Trench has got past his teammate, and does he now streak away, or will this be a battle between the two Mercedes? The last thing they want to do is throw away what is set to be Constructors' glory here. But Trench has got the move done, and most importantly for Mercedes, he's got the move done cleanly, as Mercedes seek to, well, it would be the heist really of the season if Mercedes are able to pull that off. 31-point lead Red Bull came into this season finale with. Now they're set not to score any points whatsoever, and they're set to lose out by 13 points. If this is legal, I think. You can never assume it's going to finish the way it is at the moment. All Toppy, having been disqualified in qualifying, is now up in P10, rounding up the points paying positions at the moment. And he's about 9 seconds clear of Vapor King. Had a bit of drama before him for Romeo in Brazil. And unfortunately, that drama has befallen him here in Vietnam. This time it was on the opening lap of the Grand Prix. Cobart's come into the pits, which leases Vapor Nuth. Well, it doesn't release Vapor Nuth, actually, because Nuth is into the pits in the Red Bull. And is that more wing damage I can see on the car? I'll wait to see, but if that's more wing damage, then this really is a catastrophic race. And I think it is. It is. He's having a change of front wing. This is an absolute nightmare for Nuth. A disaster for Red Bull. They are throwing this away at the moment. And, well, the title celebrations for Nuth in the US seem long ago now, as Mercedes looked to steal that thunder away from the charging Bulls. TDB still behind his teammate as Vapor Shea comes into the pits for Williams. That will release his teammate Sam to podium positions and see if he can make any inroads on the Red Bulls. The gap between the two Williams cars wasn't really closing all that much in that first stint, as Trixkie comes in as well for McLaren. Let's have a look how the Williams pit stop do. It's a pretty good stop from them. Medium tyres on the car. The question is going to be, can the medium tyres make it to the end of the Grand Prix? Trixkie on the yellow wall as well. And where do these two rejoin, i.e. are they going to be in traffic? There's Vapor Shea. Look at that. Beautiful clean air for the Williams. That's worked out very well for him. He's got some nice clear running now before the leaders come into the pits, and that'll just allow him with the undercut to pretty make up a bit of ground on the two Mercedes. But of course, he'll need to avoid making any errors in the meantime, as will the two Mercedes and his teammate Sam. Casu up to P4 now as a result. Jack Prentice in 5th. Bazooka Joe P6, Brown P7, Shea in 8th after his pit stop, Allsoppy 9th, and Vapor King in 10th because of Trixkie's pit stop. These pit stops haven't helped the Red Bulls at all. That's the battle we're watching, and it's the battle so far that's being won by the silver arrows of Trench and TDB. And we'll wait to see now if the Mercedes cars will respond, and they do indeed. Vapor Trench into the pits for Mercedes, so he's responded to that pit stop from Shea. And of course, as the leading Mercedes, he now has priority over who gets the first stop. And of course, getting the first stop is a lot more valuable. A lot more from stopping first. And it's a set of the medium compound tyres on the car for Trench. As his teammate TDB goes off on another lap. Interestingly, Sam has opted not to pit again. Or, sorry, not to follow his teammate Shea in pitting. JP into the pits. And medium tyres on the car for Jack Prentice. And away he goes. And this will probably see him just outside the points, actually, because there's Trixkie in the McLaren. It's a bit of an awkward pit exit, because you actually gain a lot of time as you fly out of the pits. But it looks here as though Trixkie... No, he's behind him. He is behind Jack Prentice. So there you go. So it all looks a little bit dreary in the pit lane until you head into the pit exit and realise just how quick it is. And as a result, Jack Prentice still in the points, still just ahead of Trixkie. And right on the tail now of Vapor King in Alfa Romeo. And in front, Vapor and Bazooka Joe. There's Trench. He's just got ahead, so that's important really for Vapor Trench. Has to make sure that he gets the move, and has to be sure that he's gonna have as much clear as possible. Oh, that's a spin, and is that Sam? It is. Sam in the Williams has just spun and broken his front wing. Oh, and I was just saying a moment ago, don't take your teammate out, Sam. A moment ago that it's all going to come down to making sure you don't make any mistakes, and unfortunately Sam has just done that big time. He's gone off the track, broken his front wing, and that has probably cost him any chance of a podium at this point of the Grand Prix. TDB into the pits for Mercedes. He's just come out on a set of the medium tyres, And does this get him in front? Oh, no, it doesn't. Yeah, because Trench is long gone. Trench and Vapor Shea both in front. And, in fact, no, TDB gets in front of Shea. There's Shea just coming into turn 3. TDB into P3, so it's still a net 1-2 for Mercedes with Casu. There he is in the McLaren, yet to come into the pits. But this is a long stint. This is definitely going to play dividends for him towards the end of this Grand Prix, if he can of course avoid making mistakes and take those soft tyres a couple of laps longer. Sam then back out onto the track on the medium compound of tyre, and now has a lot of catching up to do. That has given Buttons back P12, so that's one more position for Red Bull. However, Sam here might just be about to take that off the Red Bull as he has a look at the inside, but not quite close enough to Buttons back just yet. Very wide goes Buttons back on the exit of turn 7. Oh, Sam tentatively just puts his nose in there, but fully aware of the fact that Buttons back was always going to have to turn in at some point. And Sam now side by side with him. He'll have DRS on the run down towards turn 11, and he pops open the rear wing, and he should now fly away from Buttons back down towards the braking zone of 11, gets the car stopped and has P12 back. And Buttons back, forced back down to P13. Cobalt, after his first lap error, diving down the inside and spinning out, is still down in P14. There's Allsoppy just in front of Trixie. He comes into the pits in the Alpha Tauri. Oh, and he's got a 5-second penalty for absolutely careering into the pits. Didn't get that car stopped at all. And Casu's still going, so this is an impressive stint from Casu. 10 laps into the Grand Prix. There you can see Trench and TDB in the background, catching up to the McLaren, eating up the ground as Casu's tyres get older and slower. Allsoppy's pit stop has put him down behind Buttons back. Although it's worth mentioning, Buttons back is due another pit stop, as I would imagine is Vapor Nuth, after pitting a few laps ago with front wing damage. Will those medium tyres make it to the end? I'm not too sure. At this point, unless there's a safety car, I'm not sure it really matters whether they do or not. For Vapor Nuth, or for Buttons back. But some drama between now and the end could certainly change all of that. As Casu now brings that car in towards the final sector. What this has done is opened up a possibility of a podium finish, because of how long he's taking these tyres into this stint. Does he now pit? Yes, he does. So he's done quite enough time on those tyres. And on lap 10, he comes into the pits. That will release Trench back into the lead, and TDB behind him, back up into second place. Not where they started. It was the other way round in qualifying, but Trench has since taken the lead. And it's a change of front wing as well on the car, so he's clearly knocked it somewhere, as Casu. Oh, that's going to cost him a little bit. Brown, as a result, is up to P4, but he is on very old tyres. He started the race on this set of mediums, and he's still on them. Vapor King pitted onto his set of mediums very early on. And, Sam has retired from the session in the Williams. There's Cobalt. Where's Sam? And I'm thinking there's probably a dot stop somewhere on the mini-map. I can't really see one. And I can't really see where Sam is either. Yeah, well, he's... Oh, and he makes the late decision, Cobalt, to come into the pits. And safety car. Safety car is deployed. Right, this is race-saving for Red Bull. This is a dream for them after what was a nightmare start. This is exactly what they needed. Vapor Nuth and Buttons back will... Well, Buttons back has already... he's not... The safety car came out at the wrong time for him, really. But Vapor Nuth is now afforded a free pit stop as a result of that. He's going to be right on the back of the train. And all of a sudden here, there is a lifeline for Red Bull. Not much. It's not huge for them. They'll still be down in the fringes of the points-paying positions, but closer in terms of gaps to where they need to be. As Vapor Trench comes into the pits for Mercedes, his teammate TDB follows him in. TDB's going to have to wait. He's going to have to double stack, but that's really the position that Mercedes are going to have to be in, because TDB will lose even more time if he carries back on round. So this is probably the lesser of the two evils, really. Vapor Shea, meanwhile, has just got a penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which is going to help Mercedes in that respect, as Vapor King also gets the same penalty, and Trixky as well. Really, that's a silly penalty to pick up, really, it has to be said. And Kasu, who has just stopped, may well be second. Where's Shea? There he is. Kasu is in P2, and TD is P4. So he's behind Shea on track, but Shea has a penalty. Kasu is on the hard tyres, and he's in P2. I would say on merit, but legitimately. This is a legitimate position for him. He's on fresh tyres, and he's in second place. Buttons back now is in the points. At the moment, Mercedes would pick up how many? 25 for Trench, 12, I should say, for TDB, so 37, then 38 points. And -1 because of Buttons back, so 37. So that would still be enough to win Mercedes the Constructors' title. I really should have bought my calculator for this one. I'm having to do all this maths in my head. Stands now, the current picture is that Mercedes are still set to win the Constructors' title despite that bit of misfortune with the safety car. But Red Bull, as a result of this, can probably bring themselves back up into contention, because they're going to be on the back of this train. Buttons back has now pitted, by the way, and he's still P10. So that is a win-win-win for Buttons back, really. Safety car came out, it saved his race, and he's managed to pit and maintain position, which is that's brilliant news for him. Kasu, as I mentioned, is on the hards, which are of course the slowest of the compounds. The same goes for Brown in the Haas. Clearly they feel as though hards are the better choice to make it to the end of the race than the mediums are, but everybody else believing that the mediums are probably the more ideal tyre to go with. But we'll see. That will be revealed really towards the end of the Grand Prix. Vapor King is Vapor King's into the pits, as is Prentice. So those two, yeah, that's unfortunate. So those two weren't afforded the pit stop because they passed pits before the safety car was deployed, I believe. Vapor King, I'm pretty sure Vapor King actually did pit before. He's just served a penalty, and now he's got onto the hards. So that's interesting. Right, so Vapor King clearly feeling as though the medium runners have made the wrong choice. We'll see if he's got the right choice. That's now promoted Buttons back up into 8th place. Vapor Trent still P1. TDB still P4. And safety car still leading us round. But despite Buttons back now being in P8, it's still just enough. They would win the championship by 3 points. That's provided, of course, they get the fastest lap point. If Red Bull get the fastest lap point, then it just plays in their favour a little bit more. It gives them that little bit more breathing room in the Grand Prix. Benjamin Eriksson has joined the chat. Hi, Ben. Good to see you again. He says, love the commentator. Thank you. I try. Ben is a Division 2 driver in the FPSL. Tune into that on Wednesday nights, not tomorrow night. It's break before Season 6 begins, but next Wednesday, catch him in Season 2 in the FPSL. Right, ready to go again. Here in Vietnam. Vapor Trench leading the pack as we prepare to get back underway from the safety car. Kasu for McLaren in P2, looking to look at that right up behind the Mercedes, looking to gain as much of an advantage as he possibly can. TDB will know that in order to be comfortable for the constructors, he really needs to get himself ahead of Vapor Shea. Shea, of course, does have a penalty, which TDB may or may not know about. And Trench now picks his moment and goes for it going into turn 23. Very, very good restart from the Mercedes. He's rather left Kasu behind. There is Shea. Bazooka Joe just having a little look at TDB. TDB having a little look in front of him. Meanwhile, at Shea. Meanwhile, Jack Prentice behind is having a little bit of a ding-dong with Fashion. And they're side by side. Fashion now just in front of Vapor King, his teammate. Stays ahead of him for the time being as Jack Prentice gets himself up into P9. So a good restart there for Jack Prentice. He was just in the points to begin with, now up to 9th place, chasing down the Red Bull of Buttons Back. Meanwhile, Trixky and Brown going at it. And Bazooka Joe up to, Bazooka Joe, well, he was already P5. And behind these two is the Red Bull of Buttons Back. What a chance this could be for Buttons Back to help his team onto Constructors' Glory. Meanwhile, behind, look at Fashion and Vapor King. As down towards 10 of them in the go. No DRS just yet. Cobalt looking very racy behind King as well. And Cobalt in the Renault might just be about to claim that position as Jack Prentice, I believe, has gotten ahead of Buttons Back as Cobalt has a look. Oh, and he has indeed down the inside. Jack Prentice, very good move. Buttons Back down to P9. Not what he needed on the safety car restart. Exactly the safety car restart that Jack Prentice needed in the racing point. Certainly what Mercedes needed out front. TDB still P4. Kasu has lost out. Meanwhile to Vapor Shea. That's pretty important now for Shea because he has to try and mitigate the time he's going to lose with the 5-second penalty. TDB will want to get ahead of Kasu as quickly as possible to close that gap back up. But a good restart for Jack Prentice. King not able to take advantage just yet of his teammates racing in front of him. And defensive goes Fashion. King goes to the inside into turn 1. That's going to be contact surely. There is a little bit. Vapor King has to just back out of it. Now he's down the inside again through turns 2 into turn 3. Oh, contact not once, not twice. There was very nearly a third bit of contact between them. I thought there was going to be, but there wasn't quite. Somehow got away with it, but King does get ahead of Fashion, who wasn't giving his teammate any quarter. And now he's back down the inside of Vapor King. Oh, and he's got him, has he? They're still side by side. King pushes Fashion off the track. Now look at Cobalt down the inside in the Renault. That gets very close to contact yet again. But Fashion there, not caring one iota that Vapor King is his teammate, and he doesn't need to. They're racing for position. Now King tries to come back at him. A battle here for P10, and in fact King has gotten back ahead. Now here comes Fashion once more. Isn't quite able to go down the inside. Cobalt gets very, very close. Oh, and wide goes Buttons Back, and Buttons Back's lost another place. Vapor King gets in front. Buttons Back down to P10. It's a really bad mistake at a very bad moment for Buttons Back, and the Red Bull down to 10th place. Vapor News still outside the points. TDB's up to 3rd. He's gotten ahead of Kazu, and once again it's looking up for Mercedes and Red Bull's lifeline that they got as a result of the safety car has been punched right back down again. DRS enabled once more, and it's it's a horrible restart for Red Bull. And Buttons Back goes a little bit wide. I think made slight contact with the barrier. Now Fashion's down the inside of him, and Buttons Back is back outside the points. Fashion up to P10. What drama this is in Vietnam. And Red Bull are all over the place here. And Buttons Back down to P11. Oh, a bit of contact with Allsoppy as well, just to make things worse. And has Buttons Back just hit the wall? Has he? Yeah, he has. He's just knocked off a bit of his front wing in the Red Bull there. It goes from bad to worse to absolutely catastrophic for Red Bull Racing. Buttons Back now has to try and complete this race with half a front wing. Vapor Nuth is still trying to get past Allsoppy. There he is. But how on earth are they going to manage a podium at this rate? Red Bull. See here. As Nuth has DRS, Allsoppy has DRS as well. Those two are going to be side by side, and we know Allsoppy, he is not going to give this position up. Oh, I guess very close. Buttons Back goes very, very wide. Nuth round the outside of Allsoppy, gets 2 places in one. Still outside the points, but Buttons Back down to P13. Oh, he's struggling so much with that front wing damage. Little knock-up from Nuth in front of him. Nuth now nearly in the points-paying positions, but still behind Fashion. Brown has been passed by Vapor King. Meanwhile, King now on the back of Jack Prentice in a battle for 7th place in this Grand Prix. Trixky now, it's right back behind Bazooka Joe. This is a battle that's been going on for a while, and here comes Trixky in the Mercedes and the McLaren, I should say. Does he go down the inside? Not quite. Meanwhile, behind them, Vapor King thinks better of a move down the inside of Jack Prentice. Fashion still having a little look at Brown, and King has survived a lengthy battle with his teammate Fashion. He's gotten ahead of Brown, and now surely is about to get ahead of Jack Prentice. Very, very good run through the first few corners. He's got DRS as well on the run down towards turn 6. Can he get ahead of the Racing Points? Not quite. Meanwhile, Trixky was having a good look at Bazooka Joe, but not able to get ahead of him just yet. As TDB is pretty close as well to the back of Shea. And Vapor King is set up very nicely for an overtake here. Trixky is also set up very well for a pass on Bazooka Joe. There they are. Trixky with DRS. He's got the slipstream surely. He's got the run he needs and the overspeed he needs for the move. Although defensive goes Bazooka Joe and just holds on to the position. And there's Vapor King, who's now ahead of Jack Prentice. So yeah, Vapor King has the move done. Meanwhile, behind them, TDB not quite able to get ahead of Vapor Shea just yet, but he's getting closer in that Mercedes. Vapor Nuth is a second behind Brown as he looks to close up onto the points positions. Around the final corner they come. He's got DRS as well. It's a matter of time, surely. Fastest lap as well. That's important. So Mercedes just drilling home that fastest lap point, making sure that they're the ones with it. Hearing as well that Sam's retirement was by virtue of an incident with Fashion. So hopefully we'll get news of that at the end of the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, here comes Trixky, and he's trying to pass Bazooka Joe. He's been threatening this for a while. He does now get in front of him. Trixky ahead of Joe, but he's picked up a penalty for exceeding track limits in the process. But he is ahead of the Ferrari. Can he now streak away? Can Bazooka Joe hold off the challenge now? Vapor King. King in the Alfa Romeo. Bit of a resurgence here for him after losing all those positions on the first lap. Cobalt takes the fastest lap. Mercedes won't care too much about that as long as it's not going to Red Bull. They don't really want that. Even if it did go to Nuth or Buns back, it wouldn't affect the title race in any way, but it just allows them to stay further ahead. And meanwhile, TDB has gotten ahead. So Mercedes have their 1-2 back. TDB back in front of Shea. Shea's got a penalty anyway. And Nuth is back up in the points for Red Bull. He's ahead of Brown, although Brown here, can he come back at the Red Bull? No, he can't. And in front of them, Jack Prentice, and meanwhile Bazooka Joe and Trixky going side by side again. Bazooka Joe very much not done yet with this. And Vapor King, meanwhile, has gone ahead of both of them. So Vapor King, whilst I was watching all of that happening with Mercedes, has gotten ahead of both Trixky and Bazooka Joe. And he's up to P5 and 6.5 seconds now behind the other McLaren of Kasu. That's brilliant for Vapor King. It's worked out exceptionally for him. I don't know if I wanted to use the word excellently or exceptionally. I don't think he really cares about that. He's up to P5 in Vietnam. Now Jack Prentice having a look at Bazooka Joe, looking to worsen the Ferrari's fall down the field. Vapor Nuth, meanwhile, is Fashion in that battle for 9th place. As it stands, because Mercedes don't have the fastest lap point, Nuth now needs to get up to P4. But even that looks very unlikely right now. Here comes Jack Prentice. He's got the DRS on Bazooka Joe. Does he go to the inside? Yes, he does. Has he got it done? Joe tries to defend around the outside. Now has the inside for the next corner. Pushes Jack Prentice out wide, and Trixky is retired from the Grand Prix meanwhile in the McLaren. There he is in the wall. So Trixky's got it horribly wrong somewhere. Meanwhile, we rejoin Jack Prentice side by side with Bazooka Joe on the run through turn 10. Down towards turn 11 they go, and he has the move done on the Ferrari. Meanwhile, behind them, Fashion is closing up, and Vapor Nuth, because of that retirement, now is up to P9 in that Red Bull. As Jack Prentice gets the car stopped and is now up 6th position in this Vietnamese Grand Prix. 3 seconds now behind Vapor King. There is Vapor Nuth, locks up ever so slightly. Oh, so close to ripping that wing off. He cannot afford any mistakes here, Vapor Nuth. He knows that. He really has to keep that car on the road. Oh, and very wide in front of him goes Fashion as he looks to get ahead of Bazooka Joe, and Joe was coming into the pits. I think that's what caught Fashion out. That, as a result, has put Vapor Nuth very close indeed to the back of the Alfa Romeo. Allsoppy is also in the pits for Alpha Tauri, as well as the Ferrari of Bazooka Joe. Into turn 1 goes Nuth, now into P8 in this Grand Prix. So he needs 4 more positions. One of them lies in front of him. With Fashion, but you can see the effect of the dirty air from Fashion's car back onto Nuth's car. Nuth needs a good run now through turn 6, 7 and 8 down the very long straight, the 1.5 kilometer straight, which should in theory get him ahead of the Alfa Romeo in front, pushing him through the chicane. Very, very close to him here, and if you can just keep the car on the road, keep it on the track, and he has done, then he'll get ahead as Fashion pushes him very close to the wall. But Nuth flies past the Alfa Romeo, up now to P7 in this Grand Prix. Surely not. Surely not. Can Nuth pull this off? Can he get himself up to P4 in the dying laps of this race? Buttons back, meanwhile, battling with Allsoppy, and Allsoppy getting ahead of Buttons back. So Buttons back now down to P13. It's still a nightmare for him. He's relying now on his teammate Nuth to try and get ahead of him. But meanwhile, here he is with DRS on Allsoppy. They've both got DRS on Cobalt in the Renault. That gets very close indeed. But Allsoppy defends the inside. Has a compromised run to avoid Cobalt in effect. And now here comes Buttons back. Does he go for the inside? No, he doesn't. And into the pits has come Fashion, meanwhile, in the Alfa Romeo. That'll put him back behind Brown and Bazooka Joe, I believe. Down in the fringes of the points. Right, Nuth's next target, Jack Prentice. Just 1 second in front. It is then a 4 to King. And from there, a 6.5 second gap up to Kasu. But in league racing, anybody can make a mistake. Anybody could run wide. Anybody could disconnect, for example. It is not over until it's over, especially if you take into account penalties in this game that could also play a part. As I say, Brown with a 3-second time penalty for Haas, as he perfectly demonstrates that point. So even if Nuth doesn't get P4 on track, he could still claim P4 with penalties. He just needs to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes. He simply cannot. He simply cannot. Any mistake now to the end of the Grand Prix is going to be costly. For Red Bull, there's one there. Bit of a loss of to the turn 11, but gets away, just about keeps the car on the track. That's how much he wants this. That's how much Red Bull wants to take the Constructors' title. The Drivers' title is brilliant for Nuth, but it's not enough. He knows that he wants that Constructors' it's the Dons, and as he rounds turn 22 in towards 23, and with 7 laps to go, does he throw caution to the wind, or does he remain patient as he has DRS here on Jack Prentice down towards turn 1? Has to stay behind him for the time here, but you can see how close he is to the racing point. Nuth, all he can do is his best. All he can do is just try and push as hard as he can. But the fast lap on the front tires in the Ferrari. Nuth now with DRS. Buttons back is out. So all of Red Bull now with Nuth all on his shoulders. For many points, the virtual safety car is deployed. That's a nightmare for Nuth, because it's that bit less time that he has now to get past some cars. Buttons back being out of the race is, well, that is really it's a disaster for Red Bull in many ways, because Nuth doesn't have, well, he didn't really have a rear gunner to begin with. Buttons back was far down the order. But at least there was some kind of hope for Buttons back to score points and do something in this Grand Prix. But as it stands, he's out of the Grand Prix. Nuth is still down in P7. Mercedes have the 1-2. And it is going to Mercedes, this Constructors' Crown, as it stands. And that virtual safety car has cost Nuth an entire DRS zone. And that DRS zone would have got him ahead of Jack Prentice. It's infuriating for Nuth. Nothing is going in Red Bull's favour here in Vietnam. Nothing's going. And I was saying before that Mercedes need the 1-2. And they need some sort of reprieve in the shape of a Red Bull disaster. But it's now in the Red Bull hoping for some sort of Mercedes disaster, because the nightmare race hasn't come from the Silver Arrows. It's come from Red Bull, although Vapor Shea has just gotten back ahead of TDB. And does that change the complexion of the title race? Well, it now means that Mercedes are going to score 40 points. Nuth is going to score 7, and that now means that there's 2 points in it in the battle for the constructors. But here comes TDB, DRS back on Vapor Shea, and he gets himself ahead of the Williams. The Mercedes back up to P2, and that cushion is back in Mercedes' favour again. Vapor Nuth, meanwhile, is still chasing down Jack Prentice. He's got DRS, he's got the slipstream, he's got the run. Is he close enough? No, he's not. He's nowhere near close enough, is he? Down towards turn 11. Oh, this is so frustrating for Nuth. And it's really the first time this season that we've seen a bit of a thankless task for Nuth. It's the first time that we've really seen him with any sort of desperation. It's... I haste to say it's been a stroll, but it certainly hasn't been... a really, really difficult task for him this season. He has been so brilliant in so many ways, to the point where it's not been easy, but he's made it look easy. But now it's anything but, because Red Bull are about to lose this Constructors' Championship, and at the moment, with 5 laps to go, it doesn't look as though Nuth, the only remaining Red Bull in this Grand Prix, can do anything about it. He's got a 52-point lead in the drivers. He's got that in the bag. But that 31-point lead in the Constructors is about to disappear. And it's about to be overtaken. And Season 5 is about to be won by Mercedes. Oh, wide goes Jack Prentice. Bit of contact. And again. And Vapor Nuth has got damage. Oh, it's gone from catastrophic to disastrous. What on earth happened there? Jack Prentice ran wide. Vapor Nuth had to slow down, and it almost looked there as though Jack Prentice brake tested him. That was, well, that is contentious, and that is not the last we will hear of that. I can guarantee you we will hear more about that incident after the Grand Prix, because that was weird. Oh, and Nuth's gone straight on with his front wing damage. That has cost him everything. He's going to have to pit and put him back outside the points. This is handing Mercedes the title. But the only question in Vapor Nuth's mind will be, what on earth was Jack Prentice doing there? He's braked suddenly. He's taken Nuth's wing off. And it just when you think this couldn't get any worse for Red Bull, it just has. And into the pits comes Nuth. And this dramatic end to Season 5 continues to throw up. And the McLaren is just caught up to Shea and TDB. Nuth in the pits for Red Bull. Here comes Shea. Doesn't quite go down the inside yet on TDB, but you can see how close Casu is. This is going to be a 3-way fight for P2. Trench in front is 6 seconds in front of his teammate. TDB here is being hounded by a Williams and a McLaren. And now Vapor Shea down towards turn 11 with DRS wide open on the Williams. Is surely now going to have the run. Well, he's clearly got a hell of a set. Oh, there's contact! And nearly round. McLaren into the back of the Williams, costing himself front wing damage in the process. There's contact left, right and centre in Vietnam. And any little thing that could possibly help Mercedes in this Grand Prix is happening? There's contact everywhere that is working in Mercedes' favour. And that bit of contact has just allowed TDB that little bit more breathing room. However, he still has the Williams of Shea within a second of him. Casu in the McLaren has now fallen further behind. And he's got that front wing damage. He's cost himself a podium. Oh, Casu, what have you done? And now he's going to be vulnerable to Vapor King. And because Shea has penalties, depending on the penalties that Vapor King has, he may well take a podium in this Grand Prix. And even if Shea finishes at a TDB on track, you would wager that TDB would still finish ahead on the timing screens because of penalties. Vapor Nooth's pit stop now has put him out of the points, and now 4 seconds behind Allsoppy. Allsoppy has penalties, so I imagine Vapor Nooth will be ahead of him by the end of the Grand Prix. The best that Vapor Nooth can hope for now is a point and a fastest lap. But that would be 2 points. And now here comes Vapor King, and he gets ahead of Casu. So Vapor King up into P4, and now I think is set for a podium finish here in Vietnam in the season finale. But here comes Casu. He's not done with the Alfa Romeo yet. He gets ahead of King, and he has the position back again. And King can't quite set after Shea just yet. Oh, they're still side by side on the exit. It's a very good run that from King. Now they're still side by side. Oh, this is going to be very tight indeed towards turn 12, but King has to stay behind, has to just slot in behind the McLaren. Although slightly wide goes Casu. And, well, there wasn't really any room for Vapor King to take advantage of it. And he's, look at that, really pushing the McLaren round this front. Casu, remember, still has this front wing damage and is still struggling mightily as a result. And King does now get in front. There's just nothing Casu can do. He's struggling so much, but in fairness to him, he's soldiering on. He's still going on that damaged front wing. Vapor Nooth is having the points because Fashion, I believe, has petted behind them. Vapor Nooth at the minute, as you can see, is on a fastest lap. So this would put him up to P9 if he gets ahead of Allsoppy now. But look at the gap. There's now another 14 seconds to make up, or 13 and a half now, up to Brown in the Haas. And Allsoppy's lagging a little bit as well, which isn't helping. Oh, and is that more front wing damage on Nooth's car? It is. It's more front wing damage. He's made contact with Allsoppy. He's broken his front wing again. And this race just continues to get perennially worse for Red Bull. I can't think of a race that has gone so horribly wrong for one single team this season. I can't think of one. As TDB is now side by side with Shea. Shea had gotten ahead. TDB gets back ahead of him. But it went so wrong off the start. And ever since then, it's just been a calamity. It's Faulty Towers come to Hanoi. And you could probably set up a hotel here in the capital of Vietnam. And, well, I don't think Buttons Back and Nooth would fancy running it at the moment because their luck is out in Vietnam. Vapor Nooth is up into P9. He's not going to pit again, I don't think. He can't really afford to, as he's P9 now, but well, there's no way he's making that ground up as he goes wide, and Allsoppy goes down the inside, cuts the corner, makes contact with Nooth. Nooth is, well, I think he's just had enough of Allsoppy. He's going to try and get to the end now on that damaged front wing, but it's going to mean nothing because Vapor Trench is on the very last lap of this Aramco Vietnamese Grand Prix, and this is the fairy tale ending to the season for Mercedes. They came into this Grand Prix 31 points behind Red Bull, and it looked for all the world for the MK Dons based team as though, having won the driver title with Nooth, they were surely set to win the Constructors. They needed to win, they needed the 1-2, and they needed things to show up in their favour in this Grand Prix. Well, guess what? It has most certainly done that over the course of 28 laps here in Vietnam. 28 of the most dramatic laps of Season 5, and it's going to end with Trench winning the Vietnamese Grand Prix for Mercedes. Here comes TDB round the final couple of corners, and he crosses the line to finish in second. Vapor Shea will be third, and Vapor King finishes the race in fourth. Vapor Shea's down to P4 now with his penalties, but with the top four decided, Mercedes are Constructors Champions in Season 5. Kasu takes 5th place here in Vietnam. Jack Prentice home for P6 for Racing Point. There's Bazooka Joe in the Ferrari. 8th place for him. 7th, I should say, for him. Brown in P8. Vapor Nuth comes home just about to finish in P9. It's not going to be enough for the constructors. Red Bull came into this evening with a 31-point lead, and over the course of 28 laps, it has disappeared, and Vapor Nuth is down to P10 just to rub salt in the wound. He's down to P10 because of penalties, as Cobalt finishes 12th. Penalties, I believe, have just put him up to P11. Yes, they have, but still no points in the Grand Prix after a good qualifying. He made a mistake on the first lap, never recovered from it. Red Bull never recovered from qualifying. And after this race, after a race where it was desperately unlikely they were going to win the Grand Prix, it just all went in their favour. The qualifying for Red Bull, the first lap for Red Bull, but the race for Mercedes was immaculate, and they are the champions of Season 5. Trenchton wins the Grand Prix. It's a 1-2 from TDB. Vapor King in 3rd place for Alfa Romeo. Vapor Shea in P4 for Williams. Kasuf in 5th place. Jack Prentice finishes in 6th. Bazooka Joe P7. Brown in 8th in the Haas. Allsoppy 9th. Nuth P10, the only Red Bull to finish, and not enough to hold on to the constructors' lead. Cobalt P11 for Renault. Fashion P12. Buttons back P13. Trixky 14th. Sam in 15th, having retired from the Grand Prix. We will definitely hear more about that incident that Sam reportedly had with Fashion when Sam retired from the Grand Prix, and we will most certainly not have heard the last of Vapor Nuth's incident with Jack Prentice towards the end, which cost Nuth his front wing, and he barely had a chance of securing the title for Red Bull before that. He had no chance after that incident. But Mercedes today, with their performance and Red Bull's luck, left us with absolutely no doubt that they were going to win the Constructors' Championship here in Vietnam. After 10 rounds of racing, Vietnam has given us one of the most dramatic moments of the season so far, and it comes right at the end. Nuth may have won the driver's title for Red Bull, but it's Mercedes top of the tree at the end of Season 5. Good night.